Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Gospel Mission Baptist Church on this Wednesday night prayer meeting, Bible study, and just general time of getting to see our friends and family in the Lord. I am glad you are here tonight. Glad I'm here tonight. I'll say it again, I'd much rather be in here than in the finest hospital there is. And this is better than any jail I have ever been in as a visitor. All righty. Ladies' Fellowship is this Saturday, 11 a.m. Is that right? 11 a.m. down in the Fellowship Hall. Ladies, come and enjoy. Miss Betty's working on getting things. We're looking up stuff today. Ain't no telling what Miss Betty's going to do. So that will be this Saturday. June the 15th is Father's Day. Woo! And we're going to have donuts with Dad starting at 9 o'clock down in the Fellowship Hall. And then June the 21st, boy, that's boom, boom, and boom, is Vacation Bible School under construction. Registration will start at 9:30. The marching in, opening up will be at 10 o'clock. And we're going to have a good day. So looking forward to all of that coming up. So be much in prayer for all of these things. While we're on announcements, I guess I ought to just give everybody an update about the air conditioner in the back. It's still working as best I can tell. So we're just going to kind of keep watch on it and see how long it works. And when it fizzles out again, we'll get it checked and see if they can find where it's leaking rather than go the route that has been proposed. The company said that the inside unit and the outside unit were bad and that they would need to be replaced. It would be $5,000 and some odd dollars if it wasn't under warranty, but since it's under warranty, it's only $3,800. And so we're looking at other options on that. So Miss Betty, Miss Judy, let me know how things go, and hopefully we'll be able to get through Bible school with some air conditioning back there in the back. It's leaking out the Freon, and so we'll see what we got to do. But that's that. Brother Teddy said he was going to fix the men's bathroom back there, but Brother Teddy has been ill, has been having a lot going on, and he hasn't been able to. I talked to my brother, and he says that he and I probably can do it. And if not, we can replace that wall. So it'll be we'll get to work on it here in the next week or so, and we'll see what we can do about that. Let's see, what else? Is that anything else tearing up around here? I'm forgetting. I got another rope put on the blower. When I changed the other one out, I didn't get the cover on there quite right, so it was causing a lot of wear on the rope, but it didn't last long. And you know, Brother Michael's real strong, so it just, we got another rope put on there, so we'll see how well that works. I made sure I got the housing lined up real good this time. And I'm doing better. I'm feeling fine. All of you who were threatening to take me to the doctor one way or the other, I'm fine. So I'm doing much better. The pain really has subsided, so I appreciate that. Anything else that I need to let y'all know about? Any of y'all curious about anything? It is Johnny's birthday coming up. That would be a good idea. We ought to plan an ice cream social for Johnny's birthday. Don't you think we ought to do that? Yours is the 23rd, right? Is it? Yeah, okay. I thought your birthday was 23rd, so we might do something like that. It's been a season of things just kind of going crazy. We chased that leak out there in the foyer for a while, and we got that. There's a spot over here and a spot over there inside. Looks like some water has blown in and kind of got on the ceiling. We're keeping an eye on that to see what we need to do. The roof itself looks to be in pretty good shape. It may just have blown up around the eaves during these storms that we've had, but we're just kind of watching them. Miss Judy's going to get us a quote on getting the carpets cleaned. I mean, they've been vacuumed regularly since they've been in, but we have not had a cleaning service come in and give them a good steam cleaning. So we're going work on getting that done. And that's about it. That's all I can think of. Okay. Prayer request. Well, answer to prayer. Miss Vicky's back tonight. She said she'd had a rough few days, but if you'll notice, there's a spot on Johnny's nose, and Miss Vicky's feeling better. So I guess I'm not sure if those things are related or not, but Miss Vicky did say that she said shut up, and he thought she said stand up, and so we'll just have to, but it's good to have Miss Vicky back. Continue to pray for Miss Carolyn, for the whole family up there, and I'm going to try my best to get up there and see Miss Carolyn tomorrow evening, see how she's doing. Tony and Amy will be with her most weekends now, since Rick is he is the commissioner of the girls softball league, from what I understand. So he's going to be traveling all around the state for that, and so they're going to pick up the weekends with Miss Carolyn. But you pray for Tony and Amy, and pray for Melissa and her knees, but pray for Miss Carolyn that she'll get better. Her hearing is still not back to what it was, and it wasn't really good before. So you keep praying for Miss Carolyn, okay? Continue to pray for Charlie and Aya. Charlie is not getting any better. Miss Aya is starting to slow down just a little bit. So you pray for Charlie and Aya in the season of life they're in. Continue to pray for the Rothrocks, just all of them. Pray for Miss Dale. Pray for Brother Joe. Pray for Robert. Pray for Denise. Pray that God would watch over and God would take care. Continue to pray for Debbie and Vicky's mom and her health issues. Pray for Miss Alice's family. And pray for that young man, Caleb Holt, and the surgeries that he's had. Pray that things would, he would continue to heal and get better. All right. Other prayer requests this evening. Yes, ma'am. Pray for Miss Pat about 11 o'clock tomorrow. Don't worry, Miss Pat, it's only a needle about this long. Oh, mercy. Yes, sir, brother.
I'd like to remember the Amanda Kane family. She's a co-worker. Her father-in-law passed away.
Amanda Kane. Her father-in-law passed away. Other prayer requests. Pray for that one. Oh, it was today? Oh, wow. Pray for James. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Miss Dale has a special? All right, it's prayer meeting night. I don't have to remind you that God hears our prayers. My devotion this morning talked about there'll come a time when God will hear before we ask, and he'll answer before we finish talking. Isn't that a blessing? Do you feel like God takes care of you? I have been praying for a long time that I would just get to know him better. And there's been a couple of times in the last week or two, it just felt like he was just walking right along beside me. And that felt good. I realized that my home is not here, my home is in heaven. And I mean, it gets to the point where I'm just, that sounds real good, I'm ready to go. I don't want to leave anybody behind, let's just all go together, okay? But it won't be long. No, it won't be. Got a lot to be thankful for, don't we?
Like what Dale Moody said, he's going to pay his taxes, and then one of his friends on the way, where he's going, and said, "Well, about taxes." They said, "I thought you was a citizen of heaven." He said, "I am, but I pay my tax in Cook County."
Yep. Well, let's go to the Lord in prayer this evening. Brother Johnny, how about praying for us, would you?
Thank you, Lord, for the time and opportunity, and most of all, thank you for the privilege that we still have to come and worship you, our brothers and sisters in Christ. Thank you, Lord, that for the freedom that we have. Pray, Lord, that we never take it for granted. Thank you, Lord, for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. Thank you for your love, mercy, and grace, but most of all, thank you for that precious blood you shed on Calvary, Lord. Thank you for loving us that much, Lord, that you would give your own life for us, Lord. Just thank you. Can't thank you and praise you enough, Lord. Pray for all these many, many requests, Lord, the ones that's been spoken and the ones that's not been spoken, Lord, the ones that's got burdens that they're carrying. Lord, you know all about them. We just lift them up, put them in your hands. Pray that your will be done, Lord. Especially want to pray for our lost friends and our lost loved ones, Lord, that you'll open their eyes and open their hearts and let them see that they need you in their lives, Lord. They'll ask you to be their Savior. Thank you, Lord, for you. All the many blessings you've bestowed upon us. Thank you, Lord, for you. All that you've done for us. Thank you for what you have done, and thank you for what you're going to do, Lord. Pray, Lord, that you'll just watch over our church and add souls to it as you see fit. Pray that we always be a shining light in this community. Pray for Brother Forrest. He stands tonight. Just give him the words to speak. Pray that you'll open our hearts, Lord, so we can carry the message with us, Lord, and share it with others. Just want to thank you once again for all the many blessings, Lord. Just ask everything in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
He walked along the shores of Galilee. From clay he formed the healing bond that caused the blind to see, while stones of wrath lay heavy in their hands. He knelt to write his mercy in the sand. Jesus came to set the captives free, showed us by the way he lived, the way we need to be. Oh, love is more than words can ever say. We must touch them with compassion to help them find their way. How can we reach a world we never touched? How can we show them Christ if we never show them love? Just to say we care will never be enough. How can we reach a world we never touch? Could we be so busy being saved, trying to impress the world that's long since lost its way? We pride ourselves in being set apart, but we don't have time to touch our broken heart. Even if we found the time to care, would we take the risk involved in always being there? We hold the very thing they need so much. Sometimes the word of God can pass through just one simple touch. How can we reach a world we never touched? How can we show them Christ if we never show them love? Just to say we care will never be enough. How can we reach a world we never touch? We hide behind these walls and the security of friends.
Thank you, Ms. Abby. All righty. Before we continue our Bible study tonight, y'all remember it wasn't that long ago in South Africa, there was a pastor in his pulpit preaching, and thugs came in and kidnapped him out of the pulpit in front of his family, carried him off and was holding him for ransom, and he was rescued. In India, our missionary Paul Garamuka sent us this, and it was talking about an Indian pastor there, Praveen Pagdala, and I'm murdering that name, but he was killed. He was en route to a convention. He was riding his motorcycle, and they found him dead, the motorbike on top of him. There were no injuries on his body, but his face was beat up. And in the middle of his chest was a footprint. Now, Johnny's had a motorcycle accident. It's hard to get a footprint in the middle of your chest from a car wreck, but they are hoping that there will be at least a fair and just investigation of all of this. But Christianity is under attack in India and in other places around the world. We here in America are fortunate that we are not yet under attack, and I do say not yet. I pray that it will continue that way, but I'm not so naive as to think that America can turn its back on God and God's people not face persecution because, well, the world doesn't like Christians. And the closer you are to God, the less the world has anything on you that they care about at all. But you know, once someone sees what God can do, boy, doesn't it change everything, huh? All right, tonight we are continuing our study in the life of Christ. Tonight we're studying his arrest and his trials. Did you know he was tried more than once? Most of this will be coming out of John chapter 18 tonight, if you want to follow along. We're going to start with the fact that verse 1, when Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Kedron, where was a garden into which he entered, and his disciples. This is the Garden of Gethsemane. Now, in my study, I was surprised to learn what Gethsemane means. It means a wine press. That's where he was going, the garden where the wine press was. And there around the Mount of Olives, guess what grew? Olive trees. And the press would be used to press out olive oil as well as grape juice. And this is where Jesus went to pray, at Gethsemane. Verse 44 of Luke chapter 22 tells us that when he prayed, the prayer was such agony that he sweat blood. You remember that? And there is a medical condition where if you are under a great deal of stress, the blood vessels will break and you will literally sweat blood. That's just what happened. Jesus was beginning his suffering before the cross. Think about that. Well, it was also in Gethsemane where, verse 2, Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place, for Jesus ofttimes resorted thither with his disciples. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither with lanterns and torches and weapons. There he's betrayed by Judas. Amazing, isn't it? And Gethsemane, the place where he and his disciples went often to pray. This was to the disciples much like other nights. Jesus knew different. And then this mob comes. It reminds you of what you see in the movies, pitchforks and lanterns, and they were coming to do business. Verse 4, Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek ye? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. I like this verse here because Jesus saith unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. As soon as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. Remember way back there in the Old Testament when Moses was there talking with God, and Moses said, they're going to ask, who's sending me? And God told him, he said, you tell them, I am is sending you. Not I was or I will be, but I am. You tell them, I am is sending you. And this is the same word that Jesus used right here, I am. If you'll notice in your Bible, the he is written in italics. I don't usually make much of that, but I will in this case, because whenever it's written in italics, that particular word doesn't show in the original text. The folks doing the translating added that word for the sake of clarity. But what he said was the same name that God had given to Moses, I am. Well, then they fell back. Can you imagine? And you will notice as we talk about the trials later on, this was not any of the charge that was brought up against him. It wasn't that he used that name for God. That was his name. He didn't do any blasphemy there. He had power that when he gave that name, the sinners fell back. How do you think Judas felt when that word knocked him off his feet? Yep. Well, verse 7, they asked him again. Then asked he them again, Whom seek ye? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore ye seek me, let these go their way, that the saying might be fulfilled which he spake, of them which thou gavest me have I lost none. But then something else that we are taking note of tonight. Verse number 10, Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus, the servant of the high priest. Now, Peter wasn't aiming for his ear. Peter was aiming for his head. And this servant dodged and just lost an ear. But Peter swings a sword. My goodness, a fisherman. Now, a disciple. Jesus told him, you don't have to fight for me. But he's going to fight, because that's just Peter. Peter had a strong will, strong head, or we'd say headstrong. But he missed Malchus' head and cut off his ear. Verse 11, Then said Jesus unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? It's God's will. Can I remind you tonight, Christian, that everything that happens to you is God's will for you? It's not always pleasant. When my back was hurting, by the way, it feels much better. I've got aches, but that's because I shoveled out a truckload of dirt. And I have all the aches and pains that go along with a man my age shoveling a truckload of dirt. It's the good kind of hurt. You know, my muscles got to work out. I can tell you from experience that if you shovel out a truckload of dirt, it works every muscle in your body. Because that's how many are, you know, I got sore muscles. But the pain that I had in my back, I'm glad it's gone. I had to keep reminding myself of that pain in my back that this was God's will too. And God's going to keep me humble. He's done it all my life. He'll do it for a little bit longer. But it's good to know that even in the midst of all of that. laying there on a stretcher in the emergency room. That was not a pleasant place, but I recognized that even there, that was God's will. Here Jesus is in the garden. My little pains wasn't nothing compared to what he's getting ready to go through. He's going to die for my sin, but he knew that when he came into the world. And here we are. It's dark. Sunrise is coming, but he's not going to get a wink of sleep that night. And the next day is Calvary. Well, we get down to verse number 12. The band and the captain and the officers of the Jews took Jesus and bound him and led him away to Annas first, for he was the father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year. Now, Annas is the former high priest. And Annas was probably the most influential Jew of that day. He carried a lot of sway. He had a lot of political power. He had used his office of high priest for his benefit. Even though he may not be the high priest now, he still had the power. They take him to Annas first. Now, I want to point out some things. According to Jewish law and custom, they did some things that were illegal as they brought Jesus to trial. One of the things they did was they tried him at night. It's illegal, it's out against custom to try an individual at night. But they did. It's illegal and it's against Jewish custom to use a traitor, either as a witness or in any other fashion. I mean, after all, if you can pay somebody to do something, how worthwhile is their testimony or their word? If they can be bought by you, they can be bought by somebody else. They did this in private, and to hold proceedings in private was against Jewish law and Jewish custom. It should be done openly, right? We prefer that, don't we? Even in our day. We don't want things done in the middle of the night in secret. We talk about backroom deals. We want it done in the open, don't we? But they did it in private. And the thing I really wanted to point out is that it's against custom, and it was illegal for the Jews to bind a man that was uncondemned. And what did they do when they led Jesus out of the garden? They bound him. Why? Was Jesus dangerous to them? Had Jesus committed murder? Is there any record of Jesus assaulting anyone, much less a soldier? Why do you think they tied him? To humiliate him. To let him know that they had the power. And I'm sure Jesus in his own person just smiled. They only have the power that God gives them for just while God gives it to them. God gave it, God will take it away. But these were some of the things that they did while they were claiming to be keepers of the law. Be careful in your own life. Don't think that you are an exception. You're not. Do things above board, always. Can I remind you, if you do something sneaky, you will get caught. If you try to sneak a second guinea pig in the house, and when your mama and daddy has told you not to bring a second guinea pig into the house, you will get caught, won't you, Abby? Anything you tell the preacher is useful in a sermon. Just keep that in mind. All righty. Now, we're going to skip for just a moment, and we're going to go down to verse number 24. Well, let's back up just a little bit. And Jesus is still before Annas, and they call him the high priest here in verse 19. The high priest then asked Jesus of his disciples and of his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whither the Jews also resort, and in secret have I said nothing. Why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me what I have said, and unto them, behold, they know what I said. Verse 22, and when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, Answerest thou the high priest so? Jesus answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me? Very interesting, isn't it? Jesus said, I've spoke openly. I've not done anything in secret. You know what I've done. And then one of the officers just smacks him in the face. How dare you talk to Annas that way? And Jesus just brought it clear. If I've said anything that's wrong, point it out. Otherwise, why are you striking me? Again, it was to humiliate him, to make him feel small. And I'll guarantee you something, if they did that to you or to me, we would feel small. But Jesus didn't. Oh, yeah. Jesus, God in the flesh, never diminished his godhood one bit. And what did they do? They smacked the Son of God. They smacked God right in the face because his testimony was open and true, and they knew it, and they were trying their best to condemn him. So let's just make him feel small. It didn't work out. So, verse 24, now Annas had sent him bound unto Caiaphas, the high priest. Caiaphas, the high priest now, and he's still bound. Second trial. The second nighttime trial. Well, in the midst of all of that, back up to verse 15. Simon Peter followed Jesus. So did another disciple. That disciple was known unto the high priest, and went in with Jesus into the palace of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door without. Then went out that other disciple, which was known unto the high priest, and spake unto her that kept the door, and brought in Peter. John, the disciple, never mentions his name, but that's who the other one was. Peter and John show up at Annas' palace, and John gets Peter invited in. Verse 17, then saith the damsel that kept the door unto Peter, Art thou not also one of this man's disciples? He said, I am not. And the servants and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold. And they warmed themselves. And Peter stood with them and warmed himself. You see that? Peter warmed himself by the soldiers' fire. This is the same group that came and got Jesus. The one that just a little while ago Peter was swinging a sword. Now he's standing with them by the fire, trying to blend in. And Christian, if we try and blend in at the world's fire, I hope we stand out as bad as Peter did. I hope we get embarrassed like Peter got embarrassed if we try to blend in at the world's fire. We're different. God calls us a peculiar people. Now, when I was being brought up, peculiar was not a compliment. But it is a compliment for us Christians. The direct definition of that means that we're a circle that has a different center. That makes us peculiar. You know what our center is? The Lord Jesus Christ. The world center, what is it? Money, power, pleasure. Our center is Christ. Well, how many times did Peter wind up denying Jesus? This one right here only mentions this one time, but Vicky knows it was 3 times. And the other Gospels tell the story that after he denied him the 3rd time, they brought Jesus out, taking him over to Caiaphas, and Jesus looked at him. And the cock crowed, so it's getting to be about sunrise. And it says that Peter went out and wept bitterly. Isn't it great that God knows how to get our attention? If it means just breaking our hearts, breaking our will, then so be it, that God can get all the glory. That's what it took for Peter. Peter thought there was no coming back. I've ruined it all. Peter was the one who made the brag. The rest of these clowns, they might leave you, but I never will. When they went to the garden, Peter expected trouble. That's why he brought the sword. And then Jesus made him put it up. He said, I'll die for you. No, it's harder to live for him than it is to die for him. Peter found that out. Even after the resurrection, you know the story. Peter said, I'm going fishing. A few others went with him, and guess what? Jesus came looking for him. The resurrected Jesus came looking for this Peter that thought it was all over because he denied him. Peter didn't back down anymore. Peter was bold from this time forward. Well, verse 27, Peter then denied again, and immediately the cock crew. Verse 28, then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment. And it was early. So we're headed now for the 3rd trial. And they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Isn't this neat? We'll send him in to the Sanhedrin, but we're going to keep ourselves pure. Everything they had done that night, if there was an ounce of honesty in their body, they would have already realized they had defiled themselves because they were bringing accusation against an innocent man. They were violating all of their customs because this is the thing they were going to get done. I mean, they'd already talked about it's expedient that one should die for the nation. These Jews cared nothing about Roman rule. They hated it. But they used that as an excuse. Jesus needs to die or the Romans will come and take our country away, take our place away. We can't have that. What they were really saying is, we're really comfortable with the way things are. We like our power right here. And Jesus is messing with our power right here. So we're going to get rid of Jesus any way we have to. Now, they led Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment. The Jews could convict, but they could not condemn. So they took him to someone who could condemn him, could put him to death. We'll study more about that next week. I deliberately broke these into 2 pieces because religion is dangerous. These people were religious, but their religion had no room for compassion. Their religion was self-serving. Religion, I pray that religion is not what you have. I pray what you have is a deep down love for the Savior. You know, we all want, we all pray for those things that we want, and sometimes God answers those prayers, and sometimes He answers them in a way that we don't expect. We don't sometimes appreciate until we get further on down the road. One of the things I have really come to appreciate is there have been several times in my life where I felt like it was a terrible, terrible setback. Maybe you've been there too. And yet, you get a little farther down the road and you realize how much God's really blessing you. You see, I had my plan for my life. I was going to start pastoring a church just right away. Well, that didn't work out. And every job I really took, I took because in my mind it was just a part-time job until God opened up that church. This was what I was called to do. This is what I surrendered to do, and I was just waiting. But that was my will. God had an awful lot He had to teach me. I wasn't surrendered yet. I had made up my mind I was going to work a public job. I'd serve God as best I could, but that's what I was going to do. And I kind of liked what I was doing. I was working in accounting, and I like working with numbers. I like it when it balances. And I thought, you know, I'm going to work until full retirement, and then I'll just retire. That's what I was going to do. I had it all worked out. And God had other plans. I got laid off, lost my job. And I was 62 years old. People don't usually hire you to start out at 62. If you haven't reached 62 yet, just be thankful, because you are not their first choice at that age. But there was no other option. So I retired. I drew my first Social Security check in February, 7 years ago. In April 7 years ago, do you know what this crazy church, Gospel Mission Baptist Church, did? Y'all voted me in as pastor. When I had given up and said, God, just whatever you want. And I had made up my mind. I'd been preaching around at several different places, but I'd made up my mind I wasn't going to do that anymore. John Tucker asked me, and I said, yes, I'll come here. But this was going to be my last stop. If God didn't open the door here, that was fine. I had surrendered. Whatever God wanted was fine. But I was going to be the best church member at my church that I could be. I was going to show up for everything. I was going to do everything I could. I was going to be the best church member they'd ever seen. That's what I made up my mind to do. And what did God do? Do you see what looked like a terrible, terrible thing? And God opened it up to where it's better than I could have imagined. Now, some of you may not agree that that's a good thing, but I love you anyway, and it is a good thing. I am where I belong. That's a good thing. I think you're where you belong too. That's a good thing. Has God worked in your life, or does it just take an extra hard head for God to keep working on? No, God works on all of us, doesn't He? Just like old Peter here. Peter was going to do it his way, and that wasn't God's way. Peter decided, well, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to, I want to know what's happening, but I'm just going to warm myself by the world's fire. And that wasn't the place to be either, was it? And Peter reached that point where, well, I've wrecked it all. I did the very thing I said I'd never do. You know, let me tell you a secret here too. There is never a never with God as long as you're breathing. God can reach down as deep as the old human heart can go, and He can lift you up. I am grateful for that. I'm grateful that God loves me. And I'm grateful that God allows me to stand here in this pulpit and preach to you. Because I'm an awful lot like Peter too. Are you going to do it your way till God just finally has to knock some sense into you? And when you just get plumb knocked down, then the Lord shows up to pick you up. Pats you on the head, sends you on the way, and says, come on, go with me. Peter denied him right in the midst of one of the darkest times for the Lord. It gets worse because, they're going to publicly humiliate him. They're going to hang him on a cross. Peter's nowhere to be found. John is still right there with him. John doesn't say a word. He just stays close. That's a good lesson in itself, isn't it? You can be like Peter and you can run your mouth, but there ain't no telling where you're going to wind up. Or you can be like John and just stay close. Forgive me, I've rambled too much. Y'all don't need to hear all this mess about me. Just be glad that even though your preacher is a knucklehead, God loves him anyway. Okay? Take that away from this, would you? All right. Everybody got all your blanks filled in? All righty. Pray for Miss Pat and her procedure tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Miss Pat, you know what I'm going to say. I hope everything comes out okay. I hope you get to feeling better real quick, too. That should help. All righty. Mm-hmm.
I sat in the emergency room and watched Aunt Mary got a lung collapse.
Hmm.
And they brought all that fluid out of it. And I said there and what, don't know me, do they? They know how they do. They do. I know when they done that to her, they said they couldn't numb her because her lung was collapsed. It stuck up. I ain't gonna say. Everybody's telling me, and I thought, she didn't even flinch, she just laid there.
Hmm.
And,
So don't flinch. That's what he's saying.
I kept watching him, and I asked the doctor about that. He said, what's happened? He said, you got 3 chambers in your lung. So one's got air, one's got water, and one's got blood.
Hmm.
And he said, each one does a special thing. He said, what's happened? He said, all the birds went together. And he said, we're gonna draw all of that fluid out and hope that it'll start back itself, build back up.
Yeah.
He said, don't, said we'll have to inflate it. But they didn't have to inflate it, they got all that out. And, she came back home, she had had that, COPD for a number of years.
Mm.
And it didn't bother years, man, but after that, I think they got most of it with her. But anyway, I know, I think that when she was talking about getting that fluid drawn off her lung. I watched them do that with her, it was,
I take after my preacher in the mountains. He said he wants numbing before they trim his fingernails. It's kind of where I'm at. Oh, me. All righty. Pray for one another. Sunday's coming, you know. Pray God will send us folks in here. Pray that God will visit with us on Sunday. Would you do that? Brother Michael, how about dismissing us?
Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you, Lord, for what you did at Calvary for us. Thank you for that precious shedding of blood, Lord. Lord, I thank you